For 12 years her husband convinced her she was worthless broken failure. Then on one freezing November night after she lost everything, a widowed father with 5 grieving children finds her alone on bench and shows her anyway. She had always believed that a quiet heart could still carry loud dreams, even if no one else heard them. Mara stood at the edge of the small garden behind her house, the early morning light touching the leaves like a secret blessing she wished she could feel for herself. Her fingers brushed the petals of the single blooming lily she had nurtured for months, the only thing in her life she'd managed to grow despite everything people whispered about her. The wind carried voices from inside the house, voices she knew too well, voices that no longer softened when they said her name. She kept her eyes on the lily, pretending she didn't hear the drawers closing sharply, or the muffled sound of her husband pacing the bedroom floor. Her breath came slowly, cautiously, like her lungs were afraid of the day ahead. She had learned to breathe that way, quietly, so no one mistook it for hope. Then the door slammed. She flinched even though she'd been expecting it. A moment later, Ethan appeared in the garden doorway, his jaw clenched, his shirt half-tucked, his eyes clouded with frustration she no longer understood. There was a time he used to smile when he saw her. A time he used to reach for her hand without thinking. A time he believed in them. But those memories felt like distant stories someone else had lived. "Mara," he said, and even her name sounded heavy in his voice. "We need to talk." She whispered, "Okay," though her heart already knew what the conversation would be about. It always was. He stepped closer, running a hand through his hair the way he did when he wanted to appear calm but was anything but. "I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending everything is fine when it isn't." She swallowed. "I'm trying, Ethan." "You're always trying," he said, and the word stung more than he realized. "But trying isn't giving me a family. Trying isn't changing anything." Her throat tightened. She looked down at the lily again, wishing she could disappear into its simplicity. "I know." He exhaled hard, impatience flickering in his eyes. "My mother keeps asking when we're going to have kids. My sister just had her second last month. Everyone keeps asking. Do you know how that feels for me?" The sentence felt like a strike. She had no idea how he could look at her and still think she hadn't been carrying the weight of that same question every single day, only deeper, only darker, only in a place her body never let her escape. "I went to every doctor," she whispered. "I did every test. And nothing changed," he cut in, his voice rising. "Nothing, Mara. Year after year. And now I'm supposed to just accept that this is it." She blinked back tears. She hated crying in front of him now. It made him either angry or uncomfortable, she couldn't decide which was worse. He stepped back a little, his expression hardening. "I think we need time apart." Her breath stopped. "Ethan, please." "I've made up my mind," he said, grabbing the small suitcase he'd placed near the door. "I need space. I need to think about my future. About what I want." She wanted to say, "What about what I want?" She wanted to scream that losing the dream of carrying a child had already broken her in ways he couldn't imagine. She wanted to ask him why his vows had become conditional when hers never had. But she said none of that. Mara stayed in the garden long after he left, sitting in the dirt beside her lily. She touched its petals as though the flower could comfort her, but even its softness felt far away. The world seemed to tilt, and she pressed her forehead to her knees, letting the tears fall silently. She didn't know how long she stayed like that. Minutes, hours, time felt blurry, unimportant. The sun climbed higher, warming her shoulders, but she felt cold inside. When she finally stood, she wiped the dirt from her palms and forced herself back inside the empty house. In cushions, washing a single mug she hadn't even used. She needed movement. She needed something she could control. She needed noise to drown out the quiet of a house that no longer had two hopes inside it. By late afternoon, she made herself tea she didn't drink. She sat by the window watching the road he had taken. Her mind wandered through memories, some sweet, some painful, but every single one felt like it belonged to someone else now. Someone who still believed life could shift suddenly toward goodness. She was too tired to hope for anything. That night she slept restlessly, waking every few minutes to the ache in her chest. She dreamt of empty cribs and fading laughter. She dreamt of children she never got to meet. She dreamt of Ethan turning away, always turning away. The next morning, she forced herself to take a walk along the quiet road behind her neighborhood. She told herself she needed air, but really she needed to move to avoid collapsing again. Leaves rustled gently around her, and distant birds called to each other like they belonged to a world she couldn't reach. As she was walking, she heard the faint sound of crying, multiple cries. She paused. The sound was sharp, distressed, undeniably from children. Her heart quickened. She followed the sound halfway down the road until she saw a man kneeling beside an old minivan, its side door open, revealing 5 small children inside, 2 toddlers, 2 younger kids, and 1 slightly older girl trying to comfort the youngest. The man looked exhausted, overwhelmed.